Hey guys, Becky here with Design Bundles, and I'm super excited to be here with you today because we are going to go over the pros, cons, similarities, and differences of your regular heat press versus a Cricut EasyPress. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. Hey guys, so here we are back to talk to you about the differences and the similarities between using a full-scale heat press. Now this one is a 15 by 15 clamshell heat press. It is perfect for beginners and one that I really recommend. And then of course we have a Cricut EasyPress. Now you guys notice in all of my videos, I almost exclusively use the Cricut EasyPress. I have one in each size that they offer, which is the 12 by 10, the 9 by 9, the 6 by 7, and the little tiny baby press, which is one of my favorites, okay? Now guys, these are very fun. I love them. They're portable. They are effective. There are a lot of good things to say about the EasyPress and a lot of good things to say about a full-size heat press. So let's just go down the list and we will talk about our favorite points for each of them. First, let's go ahead and start with the EasyPress just because, like I said, this is what you're seeing me use in videos. That is primarily because it is very portable, very easy to tuck out of the way, and very easy to show you in an overhead view what I'm doing with my project, okay? It is definitely much harder to show you what I'm doing with a full-size heat press because it takes up such a large area in my crafting space, okay? Now, with that being said, once I started using them for the videos, I learned that my projects really go very fast because my favorite thing about the EasyPresses is that they heat up very quickly. So for example, I'm just going to show you this one here. We will heat up to, let me set the temperature to 320. All right, and we will start timing that. All right, now this big old heat press takes quite a while to heat up. And that doesn't mean that every model takes a while to heat up. This heat press is about 5 years old now. I feel like it takes longer now than it did when I first got it, but it's still nothing compared to how quickly the EasyPresses heat up. So in that aspect, for portability and ease of use, the Cricut EasyPress definitely wins for me. Okay, now let's talk about a few of the things that I really like about a full-size heat press. It is much faster. Okay, once it's heated up, the speed and accuracy with which I can knock out a lot of projects is very, very good. I can cut all my heat transfer vinyl, get it weeded, get my shirts lined up, and then while I'm doing that, my heat press is heating up and I can just crank them out like nobody's business. It also has more reliable pressure than what you're going to get from the EasyPress. The EasyPress relies on you. Okay, so for a lot of my projects, you guys see me using the Cricut EasyPresses, but if it's something that I'm going to wash and wear, then I typically do go ahead and I save all those up and I give them a good press on the heat press before I wash them because I am still semi-afraid that they will peel off. Now, of course, there are a couple that I have washed with just the EasyPress and they have been perfectly fine. But I think we are trained as crafters to feel like pressure, pressure, pressure. We need all the pressure, right? And this is typically a high workspace for me. So to be able to put enough body weight into the Cricut EasyPress to feel like I'm getting enough pressure, then that means that, I really have to kind of get my body weight almost on top of the table. So pressure and consistency and the speed with which I can crank out multiple projects, definitely a favor in terms of the 15 by 15 heat press. Okay, now let's talk about the different reasons why you would want different priorities. Okay, if you are a crafter and you are just starting out, oh, there we go. So that is how quickly that heats up. So I just wanted to compare that for you. Also, before I forget, the Cricut EasyPress also comes with an automatic shut off. So if I leave this alone and don't do anything with it, it'll beep at me. It'll be like, hey, what are you doing? Don't forget about me over here. And then it will shut off, okay? So very good safety feature. Now let's talk about if you're a beginner and you're just starting out with crafting, I would recommend all the way you can get an inexpensive heat press for around the same or maybe a little bit more than what you would pay for the large EasyPress. Okay, because Cricut really makes a solid product and they really stand behind their product. I love that about them, but these Cricut presses are not cheap. Okay, from what I've seen, I have never really caught one on sale. This big one you're looking at like $180 plus tax. Okay, whereas for around $250, I can get a reliable 15 by 15 EasyPress. And the reason I say reliable is because I feel like there's less that relies on me as far as the pressure. So many beginners really struggle to get good pressure on their HTV, and then they're confused when their projects don't work out. So if you're a beginner and your budget can handle it, then I would recommend go ahead and getting a 15 by 15 clamshell heat press. It's what I started with, it's what I like. Of course, there are a lot of heat press options, so make sure you do your research on that. As a matter of fact, you can check out our beginner's guide to using a heat press. That is a really good video that will tell you more information than you hopefully will need on using your heat press. But back to our comparison. So this is what I recommend for beginners, but this is what a lot of beginners end up with. That is okay, because maybe you have limited space, maybe you travel a lot. That's actually kind of why I started using these a lot, even before the videos, was I would take them when I would teach. That way I didn't have to try to load up this guy, okay? I could pack one or two of these and it would allow my class attendees to be able to heat press in a smaller environment and still complete their projects with also having a smaller footprint on my part. So very versatile. I also surprisingly really enjoy using the Cricut EasyPress for sublimation, because remember we talked about the pressure relies on me. So that way a lot of sublimation projects, they actually do not need a whole lot of pressure. So I get really good results on those light pressure items as long as it's not something that is really large. Okay, large projects I would still probably use the regular heat press for, but the EasyPress is very versatile in that regard. Okay, the EasyPress is also good if you're doing something large like a blanket or a table cover, table runner, a banner, something like that, where it's a large surface area, because you can lay that down on your floor. Of course, you want, maybe a tile floor. I wouldn't try to do it on carpet. You can even lay it out on a table, like your kitchen table, as long as it's something that can withstand the heat. Don't damage your table because of the heat, okay? But you can tack your designs down with the EasyPress and not have to worry about dragging the entire blanket or banner or whatever it is through your heat press. So definitely a lot of really good features. But guys, like I said, I just really worry about beginners and where they fall into the pressure category as far as using the Cricut EasyPress. All right. Now, I have not specified, but I do have the Cricut EasyPress 2. And the only reason I want to specify that is because the original Cricut EasyPress does not go all the way up to 400 degrees, meaning that for most projects, you cannot use the original Cricut EasyPress for sublimation. Okay, still good option for heat transfer vinyl, but just not a good option for sublimation. All right, so there's our comparison. So let's recap. In favor of the heat press, you have consistent pressure. All right, that is my number one best-selling item, is if once you set the pressure on your heat press, you will get the same consistent pressure every single time. All right, and that is so incredibly important with heat transfer vinyl. You can also crank out a lot of projects very fast, because you're looking at a 10 to 15 second pressing time. You throw it in there, straighten it out, press it, move on to the next project. It's reliable, it's quick. If you are making quite a few projects, or you think that eventually in the future you will start a small business, anything like that, definitely I recommend starting off with a 15 by 15 heat press. All right. Now, if you have a compact work environment, or if you travel a lot, or if you're just really addicted to Cricut items, hey, there are some of us out there. All right. the EasyPress is still a really good option. I think it is an undervalued option. A lot of people compare it to an overpriced iron. That is not true. And I was of that opinion before I got them, but I am not of that opinion now. I am a fan of the EasyPress. And under the right conditions, it is really an ideal press for anybody. So I don't have a definitive answer for you, but if you look at the conditions and what you're working with, budget and space is a big factor here. All right, take a look at those and you will be able to make the right choice on what's going to work for you and your crafting. All right, now let's go ahead and make sure that we specify a lot of the things that you need for the heat press, such as the Teflon sheet and the pressing pillows and things like that. You will still want to go ahead and get those for the EasyPress. So just to clarify, because they do have a lot of similarities, they can do all the same projects. You can really get great results with either one of these, but reliable and quick, small footprint, and very versatile. So that's what we're looking at, and that's the choice you guys have to make today. So hopefully this was a good comparison for you guys. Hopefully I answered some of your questions. Of course, if you have any other questions that I didn't answer, please make sure you leave those below, because I do absolutely love to hear from you guys. And of course, if you have any video recommendations for the future, I love to hear those too, because I want to bring you things that you want to see or things that you need to learn. All right. And guys, I know that I say this all the time, but please make sure you subscribe to the channel. That is what keeps us being able to bring you these really awesome videos. And of course, I love the videos too, so I'm a little partial. All right, but really guys, I do appreciate it. I appreciate every time you stop by. It really means a lot to me, and I love to hear from you guys. So I will wrap it up, but thanks again, and we'll see you next time.